Okay, let's get right into it. The very nature of war is changing, and I mean really changing, faster than we have ever seen before. And it's all being driven by one thing: artificial intelligence. What used to be the stuff of science fiction is happening right now, and frankly, the rulebook for this new kind of conflict hasn't even been written yet. And look, don't think for a second this is some far-off, futuristic idea. That quote, that's describing military hardware that exists today. We're talking about weapons that can hunt, find, and kill targets all on their own, with an AI making the decisions. So let's define exactly what that means. The official name for these things is lethal autonomous weapons, or LAWs for short. But the only part of that you really need to remember is without direct human control. This is the game changer. It means the human isn't just on the loop, they are completely out of the loop. The machine makes the final call on its own. And that one detail, well, that's the reason for this huge, intense global debate. All right, so let's start by looking at the case for these weapons. The people who support this technology argue that by taking flawed humans out of the equation, you can actually make war more precise, more ethical, and cause less collateral damage. It's a pretty wild claim, and one of its biggest cheerleaders is a whole new kind of arms dealer. Meet Palmer Luckey. Now, you might recognize that name. He's the guy who founded the virtual reality company Oculus and sold it to Facebook for nearly $3 billion when he was just 21 years old. Now, he's 33, and he's running Anduril, a defense tech company that is betting everything on an AI-powered military. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of his argument. For Luckey, it's not a question of whether robots will make mistakes. He's the first to admit they will. His point is that human beings make so many more mistakes, especially in the chaos and terror of a battlefield. He believes you can build an AI to be far more certain, far more precise before it ever pulls a trigger. So what does this look like in the real world? Well, Anduril has this anti-drone system. It's run by an AI brain they call Lattice. When Lattice spots an enemy drone, it launches this little kamikaze interceptor. And that drone has a mind of its own. It rockets up to over 300 kilometers an hour and just smashes right into the target. No pilot, no joystick. The AI is in total control from start to finish. This comparison pretty much breaks down the core logic. A human pilot, they get tired, they feel fear, they have physical limits. An AI pilot can crunch a ridiculous amount of data in a split second, it can fight 24/7, and most importantly, there's no human life at risk of being killed or captured. For the people who support this, it's not just a tactical advantage, they see it as a moral one. But of course, there is a whole other side to this story. For every argument about precision and safety, there's a counter-argument about catastrophic risk and losing control. It's the scenario that, let's be honest, we all think about. You can sum it up in one word: Terminator. One of the leading voices of caution here is Professor Toby Walsh. He's a top expert in artificial intelligence, and while he's a huge supporter of using AI for good, he is deeply, deeply worried about letting it loose on the battlefield. And this quote highlights the fundamental fear. Professor Walsh argues that if countries think they can fight a war without risking the lives of their own soldiers, without putting boots on the ground, then the political cost of starting a war becomes dangerously low. Put simply, war just becomes too easy. And this gets to a really tricky problem for AI researchers. It's something called the dual-use dilemma. Think about it. This same amazing AI that lets a robot navigate through the rubble of an earthquake to find survivors, well, that same code can be used to help a robot navigate a city to find human targets. Any breakthrough in peaceful AI can pretty easily be turned into a weapon. So what's the ultimate fear? What's the absolute worst-case scenario? It's not just a normal war breaking out. Critics like Professor Walsh are terrified that handing over these life-or-death decisions to an algorithm could lead to a catastrophic mistake, a glitch in the code, a misinterpretation of data, that triggers an accidental, irreversible nuclear conflict. Now, this whole debate isn't just theoretical. While the philosophers and engineers argue, a full-blown global arms race is already happening. Countries all over the world are dumping billions of dollars into building their own autonomous weapons because nobody wants to be the one left behind. So let's do a quick roll call of the key players. You've got the US pushing ahead with companies like Anduril, Australia is building autonomous ghost shark submarines, Russia claims it's developing a terrifying nuclear-powered underwater drone, Iran has a massive stockpile of less advanced drones, and then there's China, which is not only working on things like incredibly agile humanoid robots, but doing it all at a massive scale. And we are not talking about small amounts of money here. Just look at Australia. They've already committed $1.7 billion for those ghost shark subs. and another $1.4 billion for autonomous drones. These are gigantic national investments, and it signals a huge shift in military thinking.
So, what's pushing this frantic race? Well, according to Palmer Luckey himself, a huge driver is the fear of being left in the dust by China. He argues that China isn't just playing catch-up. In some areas of AI, they're already in the lead, especially when it comes to manufacturing this tech on an unbelievable scale.
And you can be sure that that competitive pressure is being met with just as much determination. A former Chinese diplomat made it crystal clear China will simply never allow another country, including the US, to dominate them when it comes to military AI. So this isn't just a tech race anymore. It's a high-stakes global power struggle. All of this leads us to the biggest and, frankly, scariest question of all. In this mad dash to build weapons that can think for themselves, who is actually in control? Is it the programmers, the generals, or is it the algorithms themselves? It all boils down to this really difficult dilemma. On the one hand, you have the proponents who say the biggest threat we face is stopping now, that it would be like unilateral disarmament, just handing a massive advantage to our adversaries. But on the other hand, you have the critics who are begging for a global treaty, for some ethical rules of the road, before we unleash a technology that could make a mistake we can never, ever take back. So this is where we're at. The technology is here, and it's getting more powerful by the day. The geopolitical pressure between countries is immense. But the ethical rulebook for how to use these weapons, it just doesn't exist. We are literally building the plane while it's already in the air, flying at full speed. Which leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The supporters of this technology claim they are making war safer, more precise, more humane. The critics are afraid we're about to lose control completely. So as we build weapons that can think for themselves, are we engineering a safer world, or are we just accelerating our own extinction? That is the unanswered question at the heart of this new arms race.